Well, I think people know who you are, and so I wanted to talk with you today about upcoming Omega and like Savage this tier. First of all, so are you excited for Omega Ultimate?
Oh yeah, sure.
Are you going to be planning to do that? Are you competing, or are you taking that pretty cash, or?
Well, there's like the good news is the team I'm with, our hours are a bit more, I guess, on the casual side, so we're not really racing. Um,
What
I know
is
I got a kitty here.
what is the
So
definition of kind of on the casual side, just from the perspective of somebody that has never done a week one? I've never done an ultimate, so like from like a week one ultimate, that just sounds like you are very intentionally saying, I want my head being slammed into the wall is like goal A, like that's what I'm having fun doing. So
right.
like because you're going uphill, you don't have strategies, you don't have
Hmm.
and like you don't have like just the dungeon gear equipped. Like you've done a lot to get here. So what does it typically look like for somebody to clear a week one ultimate?
So I'd say for week one, if you're going hard, you go server up, and you're looking at anywhere from 12 to 16 hour sessions for however many days. So, and you might get a half hour break for like lunch or dinner or something, but you're just going, and y'all go to bed at like a reasonable time. So the folks that you're going to be seeing racing now are probably have already adjusted their sleep schedules, so they're probably getting up or getting ready to get up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. Or Eastern, whenever the servers are getting up or going back on. So they're preparing their bodies weeks in advance just for this. So I would have been doing the same, but my group is going to be going in the evenings, so it's going to be about 5 to 6 hours each night, 5 nights a week, where no weekends.
Okay.
Whereas your hardcore groups are probably just going to go until they clear.
Yeah, and like it's a
Very
pretty
long
rare
days.
thing, right? Like savages don't last into the weekend for most group for a
Hmm.
lot of these top end groups, so
Hmm.
it's kind of like an expansion launch for
Oh
this
yeah,
group of player. And so like
yeah.
I don't normally stream on weekends, but when
Hmm.
7.0 gets here, I will. Like I'll go straight through that weekend. So I'll probably do the
Yeah.
first, like if it launches on a Friday, early release like it has in the past, I'll do
Hmm.
that Friday probably at least through the next Friday, maybe through that weekend into the following Friday. So I may go 14 days in a row or whatever that math is, but
Hmm.
that's once every 2 years. Like that's not some huge like I can't believe you'd let it take your well, that's not a normal weekend.
Yeah.
Um, and my wife and I set that aside. She knows that I'm disappearing into my cave.
Oh, of course. Yeah, my
Okay.
my my wife has been aware, like especially like last Savage tier, and yeah, I guess DSR too. Um, I let her know like this is my schedule. So for dinner this week, maybe let's just do takeout or just things that are easy. Or and then I had a bunch of raid snacks, granola bars and just things I could just kind of graze on. Lots of protein drinks. Actually got one right here. These little Fairlife things have been awesome. And of course, my favorite was my Gorp, which is good old raisins and peanuts.
Okay.
I like to. All right, bye, Luca.
I'm meal
She's
planning
gone.
this week because I'm trying to take a little
Yeah.
more control over what goes in. I lost a lot of weight through just like watching the empty calories and things like that, but now I'm
Hmm.
trying to like say, okay, not all calories are equal. I feel better if I have like the right amount of protein and the right amount
Oh,
of fiber and the
beef
right amount
beef
of
jerky too. I had
so
jerky as well.
trying
Yeah.
to take a little more control. And that's that I'm not doing that for raid. I'm just doing that in general. So this week I've got like stream snacks and all that, little fruit bowls
Hmm.
and it makes a
Yep.
difference. It does. Like as we get into our 30s and for
Oh,
many
it
people they're
does.
40s. You and I aren't at 40 yet, but as we get there, um, you know,
Oh,
it,
I'm
it
40.
definitely. Are you? I
Oh,
thought you
I'm
were upper
41.
30s. I thought you were. I
I'm
thought you were like
41.
38.
I could have said nothing, but yeah,
I
I'm over
thought you were
40.
38. I thought you were like a year older than Zeno. I think Zeno's 37.
Yeah, no, I've got 4 years on them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm actually, yeah, same age as Arthur's.
Okay.
Arthur's a tiny bit older than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, it worked out with my group. If if I had been in a hardcore group schedule setting, I would have had to step down in light of like my recent medical issues. I just
Okay, and so how are you feeling this expansion about kind of the Savage tier? Because for me, you got me into Savage. I've been watching you for a while, and you got me into Savage after you and others bothering me for a long time. And I always say I'm interested, and I just don't ever take the plunge. And you pushed me into that, so I have you to thank for that as well. And with Eden, and then I cleared the first tier, and in this tier I've been busy in other games, and so I haven't cleared this tier yet.
I still remember you cleaving me on E12S.
Yeah, it was a really precise cleave. I think you were the only person hit.
Yeah, you are. It was intentional.
Yeah, that was the first time that a clip, it was from your channel. It was the first time I've been on Lulu. That one right there.
You can hear that little,
why?
That little sound effect, that little plunk.
Yeah.
Why?
So, like, how does Pandemonium feel to you now that we're over halfway? We're kind of over the halfway point for Savage Raiders this expansion. We've got one ultimate, we got 4 more fights, and then that's it. And then we're in 7.0. How does this feel compared to previous tiers to you?
I had a lot of fun this tier. I think the difficulty definitely ramped up for P8. That was a big challenge for everyone. Difficulty and execution and DPS. The DPS check. It's the toughest for me because it was the first tier that I went in as main tank. So like I've never did week 1 as a tank before. I've always been ninja. But with our group, that was just the need, and I was like, all right, I'll try to step up and let's see if we can do this. And when we got to 8 and we kept failing the check, and I'm like playing perfectly, I'm like, because I feel like I shined during 8. I played really well. Like the things just clicked. I'll talk about the other ones. I know I skipped ahead, but like, I ended up having to learn Dark Knight like basically overnight in the middle of week 1 prog, like overnight, and then like the next day, like we were able to get past the door boss, like after just picking up a job I've never played. Like I had it leveled just because I was just working on. I mean, you all do the Beast Tribe and leveling roulettes. You got to pick something.
Yeah, I watched you learning it.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I have Dark Knight. I'm like, so yeah, I just practiced for a bit, got the rotation down, and then just went into a Savage setting on a fight we were progging. I'm like, well, all right, let's just go. And yeah, damn, we got it. I can't believe it made the difference. It's kind of ridiculous. So I mean, we saw, I think every warrior main, like Shenpai, Xeno, just had to switch. Like it was just a big thing. Everyone had to switch to something else. Gunbreaker, Dark Knight. So it was a sad day for warrior mains.
As a casual warrior main, it's been fine. It's been great. Yeah. I've been able to do anything I want. I can go in. The healer goes down in a dungeon. It doesn't mean anything. Like it's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
No, I went.
Savage was a little bit different animal.
I think P5. I think it was a great first floor. I mean, of course, we have like all the Devour memes. I think it's actually harder, at least in Party Finder. That one's harder than like 6 or even 7. I thought 6 was kind of easy. There's only like really one big mechanic, and like once you get that puzzle, it's like, oh, okay, just stand in these spots, not a big deal. And then 7. I struggled with 7. That was definitely the hardest for me. I think, well, because it was week 1. We didn't have the luxury of knowing the sleepo purgation strat. So I don't know if any of you guys were watching at all, but like initially, I think a lot of groups would try to split the stack group and the spread group on different platforms. So we were like doing different call outs. We're like, okay. So this group back here spread, this group over here stack, and then it actually made like an even smaller safe area on the remaining platform when you had to move. So it was just like all this shuffling. So I think I got it was like towards like later in the day during our prog session, so I was getting a little bit tired, and that also has an effect. Raid fatigue has an effect on you. But yeah, it can get very disoriented, and then you die, then you res, and you just like start going, oh shit, like which one am I going now? And you, you end up just dropping an AoE on someone. And then that fight, of course, is very, very backloaded. If you do it now in Party Finder, purgation's super easy because you just do one platform, just stacks and spreads, and just it's very neat, tight. It's pretty good, pretty easy. And then all the harvests, like the last 2 minutes of the fight, it's just a lot of mechanics. And if one person's out of place, it's just a cascading effect of failure. So, because then someone else is, if they don't get rezzed in time before the next cast, then one person is going to have like 2 tethers, and then now you're going to have an extra death because you're now pointing, minotaurs at, in 2 different angles. So now it's just going to cleave a whole bunch of people. It gets worse and worse. So it's that one can be rough in Party Finder because it's such a snooze fest up until that point. And then it's like, I hope people know where to stand, and they don't.
What would you want to see from the last tier? I think a lot of the frustration this time was around balance, and then there's been a lot of discussions around gear. Is there anything? Gear's been a big conversation, right? Should it take more gear to clear Savage? Should Savage somehow give you the ability to gear up faster? Or should there be something that's different for alts? Like there's been a lot of gear conversation around Savage as we look to the last tier and to next expansion, when likely any change, if there was a change, would roll out.
I thought it was tuned pretty well. I was kind of sad that they like nerfed P8 was after the first week, right? It was like right away almost, right?
It was quick.
It was pretty quick. I can't remember the timing now, but
groups had cleared.
Yeah,
and groups had cleared. Were making progress, so
and
it wasn't like it was broken.
We were making progress too. Like it was just the door boss. I'm like, well, shoot, like I kind of wanted a chance. I mean, no one's gonna like hang it over your head, but like, I was like, damn, like, I can't believe they nerfed that. Like, I mean, it's possible, but yeah, I think initially it was just tough for like machinists, people bringing machinist or warrior.
Yeah, if you were a warrior paladin machinist comp, things were uphill.
Yeah,
I think there was certain comps where it became mathematically not possible.
Right. I mean, it wasn't possible for me to be on warrior. It was actually 500 DPS difference, and I was playing warrior really well, and I was playing Dark Knight like kind of average because like I didn't have that experience, but I was like,
that's why Xeno lost it. That's why Xeno is. I think it wasn't that a perfect playing class can outplay a perfect playing class. It's that you have a job whose skill floor is for a top end player is performing above the skill ceiling of another. Right, so like it's like, wait, you're telling me that I'm better off being bad at something by world first level standards. There's still a lot of assumptions there as far as like how good players can be, but like a limited understanding of rotation could outperform not only like a flawless rotation, but the ability to like adjust if something goes weird, and like if I die, how do I get back up optimally? I mean, you were talking about perfection,
right?
And that's really
you had to play perfect. You had to, like, I mean, you had to greed every time you had Gorgons. I couldn't miss a GCD. I had to greed on Warrior, and it still wasn't enough. On Dark Knight, I was like, oh, you know what? I could kind of hold this GCD just to make sure I don't, petrify the group or something.
Yeah, as far as something that affected my friend group, I don't know if you were playing WoW at the time of Mage Tower back in Legion, but
I've heard of it. I think I know what it is, but I haven't. I wasn't playing then.
So it was kind of like if you had like a solo little like Criterion type thing, like you fought a series of trials as a class, but it was designed for your class. So imagine it being tied to like the roll quest system. So it was designed to be for white mages, would do white mages. So the white mage isn't fighting the warrior boss. It's meant to be, but what it ultimately meant is like each person on their jobs, if you wanted all the unique, it was like Ultimate, like it was weapon cosmetics. So if you wanted the unique transmogs, you got encouraged to not just play your spec, but play your other specs, or maybe play on some of your alts on some of those specs. And they weren't all tuned equally. And so I had a friend that was a DPS shaman, and he fought over and over and over to get this clear. And then I think that was, and I think the rest of shaman was really easy. But either way, he like, imagine you switch over from ninja to warrior, and you get the warrior one on first try. And that's why people got really mad, is that like you did the ninja one for 5 streams, and every stream was like, will he get it? And it was like all this effort, and you're watching guides, and you're it's perfect. And then you hop on the warrior, and you're like, okay, well let's just do it blind. We'll see where we're at, and then we'll start down the journey of this warrior one, and then you nail it, and you're like, what the hell? Like, what is this?
Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. And shoot, I mean, I've had cases similar to that. I know it was E4S, or Eden's Gate. Ninja was actually like kind of a crappy job. Like it was just a big mess. And if you played Ninja like really well, it was way worse than like an average monk player. Like a monk hitting greens on your Abacus website would do way more DPS than a ninja like parsing really high or something. It was kind of frustrating, and I almost had to play monk at the start of the Pandemonium raids too, because ninja was just kind of broken. And fortunately, they patched ninja right before the raid tier, because it was like all the Raijus were gap closers, and and you just couldn't do that. Like think of every time you hit Raiton, you had to use a GCD gap closer. Just think about that. Every minute you're doing at least 2 of those gap closers, and think of all the mechanics lining up every minute. And otherwise it's like a giant potency loss, because it was like, I think it's like 450 or something like that. It's like, well, I guess I just won't DPS, because if I gap close now, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna shoot into near the boss, and it's a spread. I'm like, and if you hit anything else, it would you'd lose that proc. So I was actually getting ready to play some monk that tier, so I was having my monk arc, and I was not learning that nearly as fast as I learned Dark Knight. So I was sweating. I'm glad they fixed ninja though. But yeah, I hope to see that there's some better balance going into next tier. I'd hate like for people to move off of other jobs, but in the same vein, I think if you are week 1, you should just be preparing for that. So like, know your job and at least like one other within your role. So like if you're playing bard, maybe have like machinist or something, or just have a couple melees, or like just be able to flex just in case.
If you want a week 1 clear of all the fights.
For week one, I think after that, once people start getting gear, it'll get a bit easier, and you can just kind of play what you want. But for week 1 in particular, you should have other jobs leveled within your role.
That makes sense.
I did like the delay, and I actually didn't mind having the trial weapon. That wasn't bad. I thought it was kind of nice, not being completely full crafted. So, yeah. I kind of hope they continue that trend. Just give us so it's not just like, here's the patch and savage. It's like, well, like I want that. I kind of like that delay, because then I can enjoy some of the content, and then you can actually practice the normals for a while.
So you kind of brought up like you want to enjoy the other content, and Walker now is over a year old.
Mm-hmm.
What are your big winners and losers as far as like things that maybe, is there anything that caught you off guard as far as something that you're like, man, I'm spending a lot of time with this?
Man, I just do so much raiding. I'm kind of like one trick with the game's content. I kind of wish I would branch out a little bit more. Sometimes I'll do like a map or two or some trials and stuff. But like I stick to the in-game stuff because there's yeah.
Did you do Criterion when it came out?
Yeah, you know, I did do that. That was enjoyable. I think I just lost interest because it's like once you do it, it's like, oh well, the rewards are just kind of blah. I'm like, well, I don't really have an incentive to do this again, and sometimes I just forget it's there. But that was fun. I like that. I'd like to see more of it, and I'd like to see them really work on the rewards system, and maybe just throw in, hey, you know, just another source for like twines and brines or something, or just
especially if it's tied to like the odd numbered patches. It's not hurting anything, right? It's not changing Savage progression. Savage progression's 4 months ago.
It's such a pain in the ass to gear up like multiple jobs, and it's like the game touts this robust job system. It's like, well, you can play any job on one character, but it's like, but good luck gearing all of them. Like what if I had to, for some reason, had to play red mage or some other healer or just something that I didn't really anticipate going into an ultimate, like after a raid tier, and I've already spent 8 weeks on one job, my main that I was progging on, to gear that up, and then like, okay, maybe add something else. Like you might get lucky to gear up and get best in slot on a second or third job, and so it's like you only really have your main that you went in on during Savage, and then one other thing. So if there's like, for some reason you wanted to try something new for Ultimate, like you're kind of going to be locked to those 2 jobs to have full best in slot if you want to do week 1 with best in slot, because it just takes so long to get everything. So I wish there was just either Criterion would be good, like here's some more chances to get loot, some tokens, whatever, or upgrades,
Deep
or
dungeon?
just
Deep dungeon could
sure,
be irrelevant. You could make the relic punch a little harder on the odd numbered patches. Historically, it's always kind of sat in that second tier, but you could let it kind of punch the relic. I mean, the relic has been historically like for
it's
a lot of casual players. Well, it's good enough. Like
good
especially
enough.
comparing it to like, oh, I'm going in and full crafted in my relic. That's not like a terrible. It's not dreadful. Right. It's not this, but it's not terrible.
Not terrible. Yeah, I mean, you're probably gonna have a tough time with some of the damage checks. I'd say maybe with Ultimate, it might be a bit more lenient, because I believe most of the Ultimates, it's not so much of a damage check. It's more of just consistency and can you solve the puzzles and the mechanics. Well, there might be like 1 or 2 damage checks or something like that. I have no idea, but like, but generally you definitely want best in slot.
Have you messed with like islands or Criterion, Crystalline Conflict, or?
I did a few Crystalline Conflicts. I thought it was pretty fun.
Okay.
I just didn't stick around to like for the rewards. I mean, it looked pretty neat. I think out of everything, I probably would do more of that, because the rewards and the glamours and the mounts look really cool. Island Sanctuary, there was some good glamours, but again, I went in there for like a day or 2, and then I kind of got bored and forgot about it. And I can't believe some people are like optimizing, like, well, here's these routes, like here's, if you do these things and you'll get, you'll pick up these mobs, or you'll be able to farm XYZ. I don't know. I just kind of lost interest in that. Now there's still some glamours and things. I like the idea of the island. It'd be kind of cool if you had your own like customizable house. I think maybe that might solve some of the housing woes this game has. Like if you could just, I don't think they would ever do it there, but like maybe for us introverts that don't want to be in a neighborhood or a residential district, just to have a house on an island, and just, hey, just come to my house. It's on my island. You don't have to look at people's weird housing glamours.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
think
don't know.
outdoor
I think that'd
furnishings
be
would
neat.
be nice.
Yeah,
You can
that'd
have
be
an
neat.
apartment for the indoors, but like outdoor furnishings, give people that
Something.
garden. I also think like there's all this free company stuff tied to like submarines and airships and all this shenanigans,
Yeah.
and you can train plane automobile as an FC, but only with an FC house, and so then it feels weird anytime they update that content because it's like, well, if you make the content good, then people are mad they can't get access to it. But then if you don't make it
Right.
good, why have it? Like why not support that system? And so it puts it in a weird spot that it's so gated as opposed to like, oh, you can have access to it from your house, but you can also have access to it from like the downstairs of Gridania or something like that. Like every free company, yeah, your airship has to take off from there, and like your submarine always has to take care of Limsed. Like it's convenient to launch it all from your house, but
Yeah.
it's not locked away.
Right.
That's always
Right.
felt really odd to me. But really, it's just gardening, airships, submarines. Like there's only a handful of things that are really affected. The rest is purely cosmetic. So islands would be a perfectly great place to absorb that.
I think so. I think so.
Okay, so what do you find yourself looking forward to as somebody that there are plenty of people that play this game that kind of view themselves as that one trick pony, and they say they're going to try other things and they dabble in them, but they mostly play the game for one thing. And so your one thing is pretty heavily Savage.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
what do
Savage.
you do during odd numbered patches or during that now week delay? What do you find makes that fun when you've cleared the fight for the 20th, the 100th, the 1,000th time?
Well, I mean, I'm sure you have an idea, but I've always found joy in just helping others. There's so many people that are getting a late start, or they're still progging, or whatever it is, and I like that first time clear, and I think it just kind of recaptures that moment of like, oh yeah, like that feeling, like an excitement, and so every time I get someone new, it just kind of like it's a new experience, for them, and it just kind of makes the fight fresh because it's this prog is gonna be different people, and I love doing the streamer collaborations because it'll like excite their community and mine, because it's like, oh, we're helping, and maybe it's someone that has I'm sure you can relate, just never have done Savage, and all of a sudden they're about to clear something they've never done before, and it's like the hard content they never thought they could do this. So like, I think that's what keeps it fresh for me, and it's like what keeps me in there, week after week.
You've done some where there's a lot of personalities in that Discord call, and it starts to feel like it's like I played D&D, and I have had a blast playing D&D with my brothers and things like that, but we're probably not that fun to watch. Like we're having fun, but that's just because we're involved. But like when you watch Critical Role, that's what you picture your group being like. Like in your head, that's your like, oh, we're that fun to watch. You're not. They are. Like that's what they do. And so like sometimes when I'm watching you guys raid, like when I was watching you with Pyro, like that, I think Mistech was in that group. You guys had a pretty stacked group as far as people who all have like good microphones and are very good at like externalizing their thoughts. They're not just thinking this is fun; they're saying this is fun. So I really enjoyed watching your just as a fairly recent one with you guys helping Pyro get P8 down. That's relatively recent, and so I've enjoyed just watching a lot of that. So I think streamer collabs are super cool because they let me like see that joy on behalf of multiple people, as opposed to a typical group where maybe it's just like a microphone issue, or maybe they're thinking it's fun, but like I can't see that, like I can't see their face, and so then they're like I can't hear your smile, and so then you hear the clear, and you're like, are they excited? And what you don't see is they've like ripped their headphones off and they're jumping around the room. Like that has to be clipped from like somebody's streamer. We missed that.
You got a funny story kind of related to that. Ponto. Yeah. So we were helping him prog, and it was a whole lot of fun getting him through the tier, and we progged real hard on P8S.
Okay.
And oh god, we had like so many like close calls and like just frustrating wipes, like down to like less than 10%, and we finally get it right. It's like, the enrage is casting. You're in the moment. We're like, it's gonna be a close one. We're like, come on, press the buttons, and it gets to like 0.1%, and like I knew we had it. I'm like, oh, we got it. And then Ponto is so happy, right? and he slams his desk like to cheer, and it like shuts off his computer. So his stream went down. He disconnected right at the end, so he missed his clear, and no one on his stream could see it. And we're like, and he's off Discord too. Like he was just off, and we're like, Bato, yeah. Where is he? Where is he? So,
oh no.
yeah,
It still makes my stomach turn over to watch that Jesse Cox clip of him disconnecting from Endwalker. Like, that's what that feels like. Did you just...
yeah.
When he clicked on the bed and then he thought he was clicking exit menu and he hit exit game and it was during the queues. It was week 1. He was midstream and he got kicked out. And like I watched it the first time and I didn't even like. He since put it out as like a little short and he's clipped it together and it's really funny.
Yeah.
But at the time, like I just remember being sick to my stomach and I wanted to cry a little. Like there was nothing funny about it. The full length clip, I didn't find it funny at all. Now he's cut it down into like a YouTube short. You can go watch it. It's hysterical. Yeah. Plus, at this point, you can just log back in. It's no big deal. It's not like, oh, you lost like 12 hours.
We had a clip with Jesse out because we've been helping him prog too. We've been doing Jesse collabs too. And like he's just a joy to raid with. He actually he picks up mechanics very fast. Now he's good. You just tell him what to do and he's there. Like he follows instructions. But like there's one clip in particular that got posted on like I think a Japanese Twitter or something like that. It's like hundreds of thousands of views, and it's Zash. You know, my buddy Zash. He was like the red mage, or no, he was healing. He was healing this time, and it's P2. So you know the hippocampus, right? And it's the knockback, right? So Jesse just missed his knockback prevention, and he goes flying into the death wall of the arena, but Zesh timed a rescue like so well. Like you actually see, if you like slow the clip down, like here's the border, here's the death wall, and like here's his little Lalafell Jesse. It's just like, you know, use this little napkin. It's like he's actually over the line and he gets yanked back with the rescue. Yeah, and it's so well timed, and we're just like so Jesse's face was just like, I don't know what just happened. So good. Yeah, but that got shared like just like, oh god, so many views just from that little clip. So it's fun to create
WoW clips over the years.
Yeah,
those rescues where you see somebody leave the ledge and then come back onto the, and they're like in something bad, they're moving towards something else bad, they're stuck to a safe spot. It's like, what just happened?
Oh yeah, I had a good rescue with our pal Faye Runa. It was during my favorite raid, P3S.
Okay.
You remember Phoenix, right?
I never learned it. I did frog on it, and we skipped it because we were down to the last weeks, and you were like, "You're not gonna miss it.
You won't. You're not gonna. Yeah, it was during the dive when the boss dives down the middle, and then everyone has to spread, and she was just kind of like in the middle and like running towards the wrong side. So I rescued her and then you have to time it just right because I have a spread. We all have spread AoEs, so like I rescued her. If I stay still, then we both die. So I rescued her while moving out of the way, so I don't get hit by her snapshot AoE. So I rescued her to the right spot. and she made this little sound. She's like, "Whoa!" Like she's asking, like actually being physically pulled. But no, I love the collaborations. I think it just makes so many entertaining moments for both communities. And yeah, of course, I still make time for my viewers. We just did the new Extreme. We almost cleared in like 2 pulls. I think this last Extreme was kind of easy, but
I haven't seen it yet.
Fun. Yeah,
I haven't stepped in.
Okay, I won't say what it is.
I have not stepped in. I've done the MSQ, so I've done normal, but I have not seen how Extreme makes it crazy. I enjoyed the previous one though, and I did get clears on that. And I actually tried my first time raid calling. Cool. So I called with some groups, and I do fairly well right up to like Mario Kart, and then after that, like I didn't have any groups that made it past that, where either things didn't immediately go off the rails and we died, or we got a clear. Like those are the only 2 outcomes. And so then I never got better at calling it because like there was no, like you're either going to clear it or you're not. If you
Right.
can get this correct, then we're good. Otherwise, it rapidly declines. You're still alive, but you're not going to make it. So
Yeah, that was a tough trial. It was actually very fast paced. I mean, I thought it was a lot of fun. But yeah, there's anytime there's like spread mechanics and it's like a lot of moving parts, yeah, someone's gonna be in the wrong spot.
So, speaking of kind of all these different mechanics, you've been playing a little bit of Dragonflight.
Yes.
How does that feel as a point of comparison? Jumping between games, like there's a lot of people like use this, like, oh, you're quitting for this, or you're playing both. So you didn't leave 14, you just also made time.
No.
How does that?
Yeah.
How does that feel like when you jump? Because they are a little bit different. I mean, they are
so very different. people ask like, "Whoa, like what's harder?" I'm like, they're just different, man. They're just so different. Like, and I think it confuses people because like they see me on a class. Don't call it a job there. I'll call you a weeb. They'll know you're playing Final Fantasy. Got to call it a class. So I went back on my old main, Shadow Priest. So I actually play a caster.
Okay.
So they're like, you don't play rogue? Like, why don't you play the equivalent of ninja? I'm like,
I was watching Arthur's learn rogue the other day, and
it's
was
what I
losing
played
his
on.
mind, and they were setting him up with weak auras, and he's like, I don't want this, and it just like,
it's so yeah, and like the GCD is very fast, and you are just constantly mashing buttons. It's
quick,
and like they pop hero, and your GCD is just like constantly spinning. You're like you get like a haste proc on your trinket and during a hero, and you're like, damn, like I can't keep up with my GCD. It's too fast.
Especially because the rotation's not as one directional on like Dancer, for example, is a great 14 example of like, it's not just push them in this order.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
I think
if you start speeding up the GCD, now you're also, it's not like, oh, I played a song on Guitar Hero and now I played it faster. Or it's like,
right.
No, I played a song on Guitar Hero and then I have the difficulty, but it's a different song. Like I'm improving on that.
Right.
That's a totally different ball game.
I think the big difference in terms of like rotation and stuff, it's more like most of the jobs are just like proc base, right? Like just you're gonna have procs and you have a priority system. So if you've played something like Bard or whatever, it's gonna be like that. But you're not gonna have 2 minute windows and you're not thinking of other people's raid buffs going out. Like only like popping hero at the start or something. Like
yeah, there's some burst moments, right?
That's like, about it. That's really about it. You get like one or two of those, and then like because the fights are a lot shorter, but like you're just hitting your buttons as they come up, and you're hitting your trinkets as they come back up. You're not really thinking about raid buff alignment. You're not thinking, oh, when's trick out, when's emboldened, when's battle litany. Like when are these things? We can have these like big peaks bursts. You're not really doing that. You're just kind of like, oh well, this button's ready and my trinket's ready. I'm just gonna do my own thing, and whenever things come back up on cooldown, I'm just gonna use it, and that's it.
So what all have you done in Dragonflight? Like, where's your Shadow Priest at?
Well, I am about eye level 390 something, 391 or so. I've been doing keys. I think my highest key or mythic plus key is about 15.
Okay.
Which I think's all right.
Yeah.
And
for 14 fans, it's out of 25 now, and it used to be out of 15, and so that is like having multiple stages of Criterion. So he's not at the top end of the Criterion,
right?
But he is
right. It's exactly. It's like it's incrementally increasing the difficulty of a dungeon. So just imagine Criterion as an example. Imagine like you have like a base level, and then each time you get like once you complete it, like the game says, oh, here's a key to do the next level difficulty, or a +2 or a +3, like because they time you. So it's like, well, based on your time, your performance, you can earn a higher difficulty key because like you're going to be ready for this one if you did this dungeon at this time. So you go in, and then now it's like the
It feels like clearing 10 floors of Palace of the Dead. Like
it is. But
like early on, the timer's not an issue. But as you work your way up, you're like, I gotta keep moving.
Yeah, enemies are tougher. Bosses are tougher. You take more damage, and they throw out these random. They'll randomize the I guess environmental effects. I don't even want to call them, but just like there'll be different debuffs in the dungeon where it's like every now and then just some random. Like you have to stack with a buddy to cancel a debuff, or there's going to be crap on the ground that spawns underneath you, and it's not really an enemy mechanic. It's just like this persistent thing happening throughout the dungeon.
Every week has affixes, and as you go up in difficulty, you stack more of them. And so now you're starting to imagine the whole dungeon basically pops a Pomander on you, and every week it's going to be different Pomanders, and so like that's kind of in 14 terms, but yeah, that's great. And then have you done any of the raid stuff?
Yeah, I've cleared normal. I was like I've been hanging out with like Arthur's and some of the other people in 14 that have played. Arthur's definitely been he's been playing a whole lot. Yeah, and of course like I had my freaking stroke and stuff, so I missed like 2 weeks of being able to game because they were going to go into heroic, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be fun. Let's do that. Like we had this plan to like do heroic together, and so I just kind of like got sidetracked. But they were really cool. They been accommodating, and when I came back, they're just like, hey, let's just knock out normal. Let's just try to funnel you some gear.
Sure.
So I've got 2 of my tier pieces. Hoping to get 4, and I didn't get it for this week's vault. I actually haven't picked my vault piece yet, but I really like that system. I think 14 should have something like that. It'd be kind of cool.
So vault is effectively, for anybody that doesn't know that's watching this, it's effectively your Wondrous Tales. Then you just pull one out. You pull a random one out.
Okay,
so you get.
Yeah, we do have that system. So I just forgot about Wondrous Tale. So maybe like
because Wondrous Tale is just cosmetic. Like
I know. Yeah, maybe like an enhanced Wondrous Tales or something. Like maybe like I don't know, just a try hard version of it or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just I just know that some people might watch this that don't play WoW like you. So I'm
great analogy because that's like, oh yeah, we do have that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, do these things. It kind of it'll give you like a way to vary your content because it's like. Because I haven't done any PvP in WoW currently. I used to do a whole lot of PvP, but so like I wouldn't mind getting back into it. It's just I haven't had a whole lot of time to do the things I want to do in both 14 and WoW. Juggling 2 MMOs, I'm like, but they've made it. I think listening to other people that have played WoW, they've made it a lot easier just to do all the weekly stuff, so you don't feel like you
dailies drop to 3.5 days.
Have to do all this stuff. Yeah, so it's like you feel like you have a bit more breathing room, more time to complete the weekly things, and it's like you don't feel like you're missing out that much, and that's good. I think that's healthy. Yeah,
they've done a lot better. I play 4 at once. If you wonder why I don't have time for Savage, so I play WoW, New World, Guild Wars 2, and then 14's home. 14's the primary. If something new comes out in 14, it takes precedence over everything. But I'm excited about 10.0.5. I'm excited about New World's roadmap. They've been just churning along, and then Guild Wars I think will have a living season this year, which will be really fun. So, okay, so you've talked about some gearing things. You've talked about jumping through different difficulties, which is very different than how 14 does things. But as you went into WoW, you had to do the campaign. You've pushed through this. Is there anything that the whole time you were like, if I could just pick this aspect of this up, it's a totally different game, right? I'm going to a distant land, but what feature, what aspect of 14 would you have packed in your suitcase as you went to Azeroth?
The job system, I think, because right now it's tough because in WoW, if you want to rerun like keys or raids and stuff, you make a new alt, and you just make a new class and then you go from there. So, and I kind of like having one character, one job, but if they could somehow make it where you could just switch between your classes on one character in WoW, maybe you wouldn't have to make all these alts and stuff. but then it might mess with like the whole instance things, or like maybe if it's tied to like your instant lockout is tied to your class. I don't know how they would work to that.
Do you still manage multiple alts in 14?
Yes, but since DC travel, I didn't have to do that as much, so I kind of just take like my best geared thing, and I have those alts handy if like a 2 chest is like, oh, we got to get a 2 chest, we got to help someone out. I'm like, well, I still have this one I haven't cleared on. But before DC travel, yeah, I excuse me, I had to juggle all those alts and gear up each of those alts so I could play on the various data centers. So fortunately, it's just been made a little bit easier to manage.
So a little easier account wide, which I think Dragonflight took a lot of steps towards that, but it absolutely still has some pain points. People that want renown 20 on 2 different classes sucks.
Right.
So okay, so now you're on your way, Whiplash. There, you've just been rescued back off the platform. You come back from Azeroth. What do you grab on your way out to bring back to 14?
Transmog, the collection system and how they handle that. It's just so much better. Like,
it's good.
And all the account wide stuff, all of it. Like it's so nice. Like if you just have all your achievements, pets, minions, your mounts, and you just have it on one character, it's like, oh, this is great. Like I kind of wish I had that. And I do like the whole reputation thing, being account wide, like the renown. That's great.
Okay, I agree with you on the transmog thing. I thought maybe you'd bring back multiple difficulties. I thought maybe having.
Oh yeah, for sure. Although I just don't know how 14 would implement that, where it's like you would want to, like for instance, like with Mythic Plus, it's like the lure of that is you get better gear each time. Like your eye level keeps increasing. It's like, well, dungeons are harder. Like I need better gear. So it's not just like for us, it's like, oh, do Savage, and it's your max level. But
the gearing is much simpler.
Yeah, it is. It's so much simpler. But then it's just like, oh, well, if you want to do this dungeon, maybe you get like 1 or 2 eye levels higher, and then it just keeps going from there. So like, if you get all the way up to Mythic plus 25, it's like you get some top quality eye level gear there, and even like some of the pieces that you had, it can just be replaced by something the equivalent with a higher eye level. I know what I was saying this on stream. It was trinkets. I think it would be so cool to have trinkets in 14 because they're so unique, right? Like our gear is kind of boring, right? There's nothing like this. Excuse the pun. There's no wow factor for gear in 14. Like you get something, it's like, oh, I have that. But then in WoW, you get something, you're like, oh, dude, you got that thing? It's ultra rare. That's a rare drop from that boss. Or that trinket, like, dude, that's a really good trinket. There's like so many things you can get, and there's a big variety. So yeah, it's kind of dull with like our options. So we're just like, well, here's your bis, blah. Everyone's gonna have this same like cookie cutter thing, but then WoW has a lot more variety. And just imagine like you get a trinket in 14 where it's like, oh, well, if this trinket procs, you now have ley lines, and anyone standing near you also has ley lines. So everyone will have a big haste boost, or like some damage proc, but it might extend to someone else. Like it's like
Primal Rend is immediately available. Immediately.
Yeah, and it's so and it's just really cool. I'm like, I don't know how of course they'd have to like balance that. And I think that's why they stick to very boring basic gear, because then it's like, well, how do we tune this boss if 8 people have these different trinkets? And like, is it going to be broken? And are people going to have to farm certain things? And they probably will. So I get why 14 developers would.
It's why Bosja's Adnor could have a haste set that only gave you haste inside Bosja's Adnor, because it doesn't break anything. And so like if they give us trinkets like WoW, but they only take place inside Deep Dungeon, right? Then they don't break anything. And when you pull those, maybe when it's your ring slots, but when those rings go out into Savage, they're just normal rings. They're just normal freaking rings that do weird crap inside Deep Dungeon.
Okay, that I could get behind that. I just think it'd be way more fun and exciting to get gear, or or maybe if they retooled Criterion where you get neat, unique pieces of gear like trinkets and stuff, or like rings with procs or whatever. Oh man, just
and they can do weird stuff in the open world. Yes, you're out on the hunt train and you're just going nuts with all your extra primal
going ham. You're like, whoa, what does he have? Like, damn, I want to do that content. I want to get that thing.
Yeah,
that's neat. It's not gonna like mess up. Yeah, you know what? If it doesn't mess up the whole like Savage rating,
Savage Ultimate, protect him.
Yeah, Savage
PvP,
Ultimate, yeah,
protect him. Right, but like just
if
I'm running Troya and a monk suddenly starts shooting flaming fists and then they're getting bigger and you're like, what is happening? You're like,
what's going on?
It's fine. We can only double pull anyway. Like, how much could it possibly break? Already the most fun I've had in a dungeon expansion was when we ran me as a warrior and 3 DPS from stream. Like, just cut the healer. And you're like, man, if somebody dies, that's it. They're done. They're not coming back. I found that wildly fun. Edge of my seat. Exciting, because as a warrior, it's like, oh, I got to manage this. And like, warrior is more than capable, so I didn't have to play brilliantly. But we had a great time. So, cool. Well, that was... Yeah, I think I agree with you. Coming from WoW, it's the transmog all the way. That kind of collection. 14's orchestrant system actually works that way, where you can have them all in one menu. It's grayed out for the ones you don't have. You can click on them and see where they come from, and then all the ones you do have, you can filter by that. Like you can sort it by content type. It's already handled exactly the same way. So I just want that interface for a glamour dresser.
Oh, that's it. Please just give us BattleNet. Give us the friends list. Just right click, copy, paste into 14. Like, every time I have to use the friends list in 14, I just die a little on the inside. It's like a dot matrix printer every time that you load. It's like you hit that tab and you hit friends. You hear it's like you're like, just load. And then with DC travel. They're all grayed out, and then even if you're on the same server, like your home server, it's like, well, we loaded your friends list, but are they really online? Better click the button next to their name just to make sure. You don't know. It's a surprise. Just make the friends list work, and just let me know if people are online. Let me message people, and if I go down to my chat window and I right click someone's name and there's a menu.
Yeah.
If a menu option doesn't work when I right click, don't have it in there. It shouldn't be in the menu. It should not be something I should be able to choose. But because it's like, oh well, no, you can't do that menu option there. You have to load the social tab, and then you have to scroll down, then you have to find their name, then you can right click, and then you can do that menu option. It is so frustrating using the social tab. Like, please just make something that works. That's like my big rant. And then
if they do a shared sub with 11, that's the time to fix it, in my opinion. So that if I'm on 11 and you say, hey, we need a tank for whatever, you can message me cross game, and then I can just and then I can just go,
why not?
I was just sticking around anyway. Yeah, I'll switch over, no big deal. I think that's the time to do that if you're gonna do it. You know, or at least to be working on it behind the scenes. If it can't roll out day one, nice. I get it. That'd be really nice. Gary Goldman has a joke about that dot matrix printer, about how like he's at the oil change, because that's the only place that still uses them, and the guy prints out the receipt and it runs out of paper, and he goes, and the guy gets this really sad face, and he's like, sir, I'm so sorry, I have to go back in time to get more paper. Because they don't even make
the perforated edges. Oh my god!
I have to have time travel to go get more dot matrix paper. Because they haven't made it since 1985. So, okay, and then to go from 14 over, the job system actually isn't it for me. I'm perfectly fine with the specs and things like that. I don't like, if we're just going to keep it on cosmetics, I don't like that WoW seasonal stuff can only be used during the seasonal event. because you get some really cool, you get some pumpkin head from Halloween.
You do.
And you can't equip it unless it's the Halloween event to go back the other way. So like it's just, and then the bigger thing is their chromie time and their time walking are both really neat, but they're not as graceful. They're not as graceful as roulettes. The ability to just toss myself into a roulette, even if it was just going to drop, like, it's capped at heroic gear, but if I get a brand new fresh 70 and I want to get them up to heroic, and I want to get them up to those 359s, just let me go get tossed into any dungeon from the game. And if you're like, well, Wailing Caverns and this one dungeon from whatever is not good enough, then trim those, then cull those. Say like, hey, they just aren't up to snuff, they just don't play well, but like, all the Lich King dungeons play fine. All the Cata dungeons play fine. Just let people... You have this massive library of content.
Well, I think 14 should be able to do that too. I get really bored with expert. I get so bored with that. Like, why don't they give us time walking expert? Why don't I want to do, you know, twinning or dungeon or something? I want to do some of the older dungeons, but make it expert. Like, they've already done it with Unreal. Yeah. Right?
Oh, so, the 70, 80, 90 roulette. I've been going.
Can we have expert, like, and then like just a larger selection? Because God, you roll your eyes. You're like, Troya.
Because the roulette system really does a pretty freaking good job of getting you in the content. And so if they could adjust the rewards, that's a pretty minor thing, as opposed to like, wow,
level 90 Sestasha
really do a good job of even bringing back their Sestasha or twinning. Like that content just kind of goes and dies. And you're like, there's some really good stuff back there. There's some really good stuff, and it'd be really fun to like have that be relevant. Like you did the work, you did the hard part. Like you put it, you built it and put it in game. That's the hard part. Now just let us have access.
And the twinning, that reminds me, I think one thing I was completely missing in while I was playing WoW was just like music, good music. Like you go into a dungeon or a raid and it's just like generic fantasy playlist one, and then you're like what's even...
it's fine, but you could pick it up and drop it in any other game.
It's just kind of like it's nothing memorable. You're like what is... But you go into like O11S and you're like you're like, oh man, this is like, you know it, like you know the raid and you're like, this is the good music. But you go into a WoW raid or dungeon and you're like, like where's my playlist, where's my Spotify? Like nothing really encourages me to like listen to the in-game music other than maybe some of the cutscenes from the campaign, like where it was a bit more dramatic.
I played through it with their music, and then I muted it. Like I played through it once, and I'm like, and we're done. Like I completed it. It's like an audiobook. Like cool, and I have now heard the whole thing. I am done. You may take it back now. I'm gonna go with my stuff from here on out. 14 has substantially
just the
better music.
Cities. Yeah, just like the cities in WoW might have like a good theme or something, but it's just like, but everything else, all the content you do, it's like, no.
Especially Shadowbringers Onward. Shadowbringers Onward, it's hard to escape good music in 14.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You know, like there's good stuff from previous expansions. There's some great tracks, but like Shadowbringers Onward, it was like, what if we just did all good music? Like the whole time.
Everything was a banger.
What if just everything was amazing?
I know. Exactly. You're like, damn.
Oh. That's clever.
Like every dungeon.
I actually get a little bit mad when I'm doing Shadowbringers Fates when the Fate music kicked in. I was like, what are you doing? No, I'm in Raktika. Chill out. Yeah. Like, I don't want to join the Fate because I'm not done. Like, not answering your phone if you have a great song as a ringtone. You're like, well, I was going to answer your call, but it didn't get to the good part, so sorry.
Right. No, I feel you. Cool. There.
Well, that was it. I just wanted to chat with you about that. I think it's awesome to like more than one game. You know,
I think
have fun where you have fun. Appreciate you giving me an hour of your time.
Oh, of course, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
What's coming up for you? And when are you streaming these days?
Oh, we'll be on tonight. I usually stream around like 8 or 9 Eastern, but I've been stopping around like 3 or so. Even that even might seem late to some folks, but just keep in mind I used to go till like 6 or 7 in the morning, so I'm actually...
Yeah, if I got up and really got after it in the morning, I could always watch llamatodd with breakfast.
Yeah. No more breakfast streams. So I'm actually going to bed when it's still dark, and I don't see the sun coming up. So so that's a good thing. That's a good change. So yeah, we've got that. We've got Ultimate course coming up next week. I'll be doing our evening prog, but I also will be a part of the casting crew with Frosty, so I'll be doing commentary and covering the race in the day. So
Their race levels up every time. Every time it's their best coverage yet.
It's going to be
every time.
Even,
it looks awesome.
I hope that you saw, but they've added some rewards and incentives for those that like the first streamer
I hope you're sitting down before he reveals what these rewards are. But if you're not, the world first team might be.
Oh,
they're getting a sweet share there.
Yeah, it's sponsored by Corsair. Like Corsair just threw in a whole bunch of goodies.
Yeah,
like some gaming, swag and stuff.
I did have a question. It's only, so I assume it's 8 setups, right? Because 8 is a full party. But the world first groups are never just 8 people. Like there is a support staff. There's a 9th man.
That's a great question. Yeah, if it's like a 9th man type thing, I don't know. I would hope that a 9th man would get credit. I mean, I think that'd be fair.
They don't get the achievement in game. They don't get the achievements out of game. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, they often
I just wondered. That was my first thought. I was like, that is so cool. What about the 9th man? Like, I just immediately. What about the 9th man?
I know. Yeah. Hopefully they do something for them. That'd be really nice because they
I mean, it's already incredible. It's incredible.
So
it's great to see it continue to grow, and the coverage gets better every time. And Frosty and the team just do such a great job. So excited you're gonna be a part of that. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be watching. I'm gonna be clearing 10.0.5 in WoW and watching. That's what I'm doing on Tuesday.
I'm gonna try to get ahead of the curve before then, and I think maybe after Ultimate, I'd like to try the Mythic raids if possible, because I think it's like, at least for now, it's server locked right until like 100 guilds clear or something like that.
Yeah, I think they wait for the top 100 to finish. I believe.
Yeah, and then it opens up and it's a bit easier to find people, because otherwise you have to be on the same freaking server. So maybe that'll like happen later on. But
I wonder if that'll also bring in cross faction, because it's not cross faction.
I would like that,
because I think just like you meet somebody, right? You meet you're hanging out at some house party or whatever, and some guy's like, yeah, I play WoW too, and you're like, oh cool, we should play together, and they're like, yeah, I'm a human mage, and you're like, I'm an orc, and we now have to part ways. Like that. Yeah, that's such a missed opportunity to like. I don't know.
Right.
I think the cross faction. My first reaction was, they're ruining my game, my memories. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, just let people play.
Trading gear, isn't that nice? Like someone wins something, and then you're like, oh, hey, do you need that? Like maybe I don't know if 14 would have that or not, but I kind of like that feature.
Yeah, but I can still get a warrior drop on my druid from a rare spawn out in the world that's like 350, and my warrior could use that as like catch-up gear, and they're like, yeah, you can trash that.
Yeah.
Dang it. So it cuts both ways.
True.
All right.
Also true.
Well, thank you,
All right,
Tom.
man. Well, thank you.
Keep taking care of yourself.
I will.
We love you. We appreciate all you do for the community.
Thank you so much for the support. Like everyone, like the community has just been amazing with the whole medical situation. So I'm still just kind of blown away by the response. It's incredible. So thank you for helping.
My wife doesn't really know anything about 14. She doesn't ask about a lot of stuff. Sometimes she's like, "Did you get your drop or whatever tonight?" Like she doesn't. She did ask about you. So she's been thinking about you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. All right, you too.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye. See ya.